All right, y'all. Welcome back to Visionary Sanctum. This is our second video episode, and I'm super excited per usual. Let's hop right into it though. We're already familiar with each other. We're going to start with our check-in. This check-in is very brief, but very impactful. It's because I've been feeling really grounded, and I've been feeling grounded because of all this peaceful, meaningful time I've had at home and just being with myself. I haven't really gone out much, saving some money and doing some introspective thinking. And it's helped me to grow expansively on a creative level and a spiritual level. The greatest way for me to describe how I'm feeling is like I'm in a bit of a transitional period as we transition into my favorite season. And what are these next moves that I want to make? And in order for me to have clarity on those things, I need to get grounded. So that's what I've been doing this last couple weeks. Let's get into our topics today. So we're going to talk about TikTok. I deleted my TikTok. Great decision. If you are considering deleting TikTok, making art for yourself and weird people or weird, you can see me mouth it if you're watching the video version. And finding peace will be our word. And I think I'll just throw a little something in there about the complexity of human nature. Let's hop right into it, because I've had some experiences this past week. And like I mentioned before, talking about grounding, clarity, and expansion, a lot of that has had to do with not just the time I've had for myself, but also because I deleted TikTok. I was getting to a point where I realized TikTok was just very addictive. The amount of time I would spend scrolling in the morning, just like straight off the wake up, eyes open, scroll before I even use the bathroom, before I even wash my ass and get the day started. It was a priority to do. And it just took so long, like getting out of the shower, doing the rest of my hygiene, my moisturization, my base stuff. And I just have like little videos and stuff playing in the background. Like I had to be somewhat attached to it in between time. And I'm like, you know what? I think I'm better off just deleting the app cold turkey. I have some things I'd like to do. I have some projects that I'm working on, and I'd be able to just get a lot more done if I spent the same amount of time doing creative things as I do getting in all the screen time on TikTok. So I deleted the app. Something that happened the first day is after I physically deleted the app, a couple of times I would just open my phone, like pick it up and then go to tap where the app was, and it just wasn't there. I'm like, girl, I'm glad I deleted this thing, because the last thing I need to do is be that freaking addicted to a social media app that I'm tapping for, even though I know it's gone. And then I started to scroll on Instagram, and Instagram, the algorithm is just not as good. It doesn't give you that dopamine hit. So it was very easy to just scroll for a little bit and be done, which is healthier anyway. And because I don't spend that much time on Instagram, and the reels and the algorithms and things weren't fully matched up in the way that they are on TikTok. And so that also was able to aid in me keeping down my screen time. I started to spend more time on YouTube, consuming more long form content, which would make sense if I produce my own podcast. So more long content has been a lot better to consume over time. And then of course, now there's all this quote unquote free time that I have that I'm actually using properly. It was nice. It was nice in the beginning, and it's still nice now. Over a couple of days, I'd say day 3, I wasn't tapping for it anymore, and I was prioritizing my time a lot better. I was planning ahead instead of just going like, oh, there's a couple things I want to do today. Let me just look at my list, because I had a long list of things. But that list turned into me actually setting up tasks throughout the week for me to complete. And even if I didn't get them done or I had to rearrange a few things, it was okay. But I at least had some sort of guideline for the day as to how I wanted to construct it or how I wanted to do these projects. And in between time doing these projects, I'm like, I can do this. I can do that. Like outside of this particular medium that we're dealing with right now, something I haven't really picked up in a long time is crochet. So I started crocheting again. And I remember the first time I really got into that, I learned I had a talent for fiber arts. Okay. Whether it be crochet, knit, macrame, anything fiber art related, I really could get down with that. Like it's good. So I'm gonna fall deeper into that and explore and see what happens, just for fun, for hobby, or for more. We don't know. We'll see where it goes. And then in terms of this podcast, and other things I want to do. I don't want to reveal all the stuff because eventually y'all will see it. But there's some really cool things coming just because I decided to give myself my time back and not spend it scrolling through social media. Something that I did really notice with TikTok, I would use it as my downtime. Like, that's my break. I'm not really doing anything right now. Let me just go ahead and scroll. Right. When I took that away, I was like, okay, Instagram. But it's like, Instagram's not really doing it for me. And I'm tired of working on these projects. I'm tired of crocheting. I'm tired of doing this, that, and the third. I need to just rest. And it's like, okay, well, I've watched enough of these videos. I'm tired of nonfiction. Let me watch some fiction. Well, there's no fiction I want to watch. Well, what do I do? And the answer is nothing. Rest is just sitting. And I'm like, I'm going to go stir crazy. There's no way I could just sit. Well, maybe if I just have a crunchy snack, like, because, the crunch is stimulating. It's not necessarily the need for the snack in itself. Even with that, I had to be like, I can't just be around crunching stuff because I don't know how to just sit. And sitting with myself is cool, but like sitting and not actively doing something, like fidgeting with something, playing Sudoku, something, like just rest, like not being anything at all. To me, it was a whole thing. Now I'm a bit better at it. I can just chill out. The other piece with TikTok is I just feel like overall, I have a lot more of a positive outlook. It was just warping my view of society. I think there's a healthy amount of news about negative things that are going on in the world. And then it's important to stay informed and to stay vigilant. That piece, cool. But the other piece that was getting me is just like the overall negative petty stuff. That stuff I didn't care to see. The 50-50 conversations, people just being contrarian for the sake of being contrarian and not being genuine and not really having important conversations. It just made it day-to-day life is like miserable and constantly combative. And that's just not reality for many people who touch grass. Being in community day to day is really not that crazy. Yes, there's negative things happening in the world. We do need to stay informed to like just making negativity where there isn't something that I needed to internalize. I don't think I was internalizing completely, but it was to a point. It was taking energy. Even though I'm not running around, I'm a thinker. Like, this is where I hold my value in my brain. I'm using that brain power, consuming this negative shit, reading these crazy comments. I'm not really leaving that space. So once all that space opened up, I had so much more energy in the day and so much more of a creative capacity to really even create it all. Now I can go much longer and I'm able to produce more work within set amount of time than I could before. That was my little transformative piece about TikTok. And we'll get into the next piece because that creative expansion that I was experiencing directly relates to our next topic, which is making art for yourself. I've been trying to create art for myself, but there's always that little piece in the back of my mind where I was getting concerned about metrics and, algorithms and things like that. I remember looking at my metrics at one point in time when I was doing short form content and being like, oh, people aren't looking past the first 3 seconds. Well, if you do your research, that's common. People don't really watch past the first 3 seconds. And part of the reason I wanted to get into long form content in the first place was I wanted a long form content audience. I wanted people that were a bit more thoughtful and wanted to take their time. When you're on social media, the point is that it's quick. You get a high volume of consumption of different, like the amount of videos that you view rather than a couple of longer pieces, a couple of longer podcasts. And so I needed to switch platforms and figure out what medium was best for me to do that. And so podcasting has been the space for me, and now video podcasting and other things that y'all will see that will continue within the long form media space. Now that I'm doing it, I'm really, really enjoying the process. Like, I like that I can do this cool little setup in my living room or wherever I am, whatever mystery space. I'll do this really cool setup in my living room and take my time and like set up my space and then think about what I'm going to say and have my show notes together and be really thoughtful and intentional about the piece and also speak my entire piece. The other issue I was running into in short form is that I would have to constantly restart the video because I'm like, I'm not getting to the point in 3 seconds. I'm not doing this in 3 seconds. I'm not doing that. And then I'd be so worried about making sure it was so clear and concise. I'm chopping that bitch up, okay? The jump cuts was going crazy, but it took so long just to edit this 30 seconds and it just wasn't rewarding. Like, I have a larger message. There's more that I want to say and I don't want to reduce myself for the sake of views. I've now switched to this mindset that what I'm doing in general, beyond just this podcast, is I'm creating worlds for someone to come across. And so in order to create worlds for someone to come across, it doesn't necessarily have to appease millions of people. It has to land and connect intentionally with the right crowd that was meant to come across. You like one thing, you can go back and view all kinds of things and take this fun journey, grow and learn and expand with me, or enjoy whatever other content there is recreationally, and feel that this space is being created in a genuine manner. I think sometimes you can feel, at least I can, the experience I'm having, whether or not something is created just for the sake of function rather than art or passion or reason or purpose. Not everything needs to be that deep anyway, but it is that deep for me. After deleting TikTok, it really made me realize like social media in general is not the end all be all. And so when we create art, whether it be posted online or not online, the entire creative process really is just for you to feel and enjoy. And the goal is for abundance to come out of doing the work because you want to do the work. And there's a lot of incredible creatives out there who have been able to have very fulfilling careers or journeys within the spaces that they're in and not really do a ton of social media. Like I said, leaving worlds behind for someone to discover. In terms of opportunity, when we think about being creatives, you know, how can we manifest some financial abundance there? It doesn't really take a bunch of people. It takes that one very important person to see and to be able to expand from there. That's it. With this mindset, there's a lot less pressure. It's more so, hey, I'm building a little following here. I'm just gonna put it up brick by brick, and however the cards may fall is however the cards may fall. The last piece with making art for yourself is the process of creating for yourself is a true walk with authenticity, a true walk. I'm being 100% myself. Radically. I believe in me radically. I believe in my vision radically. I believe in this community radically, you know, and I don't plan to veer away from it. And sometimes authenticity, especially if it's real radical, girl, it can ruffle some feathers. But when you're content with being who you are, it's easier to handle when that kind of stuff happens, you know? And we'll move into our next piece, which is, I put weird people in the first one, but I really wrote down weird bitches. So let's talk about weird bitches, okay? Initially, when I was thinking about how I wanted to put this piece together of the show, I was going to come up with some sort of more inflammatory, super hype, super crazy, like, these bitches, woo, woo, and then get into the positive message. But I'm just going to skip that crazy part and then just be 100% positive. This is what I want the platform to be about. So let's talk about weird bitches. Okay. Throughout my experience of being a very authentic person, I've ruffled some feathers. And even though I've always been determined to be myself, my level of security within myself or self-esteem has varied throughout that time. So if someone was ruffled by me, if you will, I wasn't even able to pick up on it because I was like, there's no reason anybody would be ruffled by me. You know, I'm just little old me. You know, who cares? Why would somebody be upset, or why would somebody think I'm all these things? I'm just invisible. Now, I haven't felt invisible in a long time, but that was my initial thought. But back when I thought I was invisible, I was running into these issues, especially like in the workplace. I remember I had one boss. She definitely had it out for me. I mean, I have had more than one out for me, but this one in particular definitely had it out for me. There was, I believe, to be a racial aspect because I was in Minnesota. And I remember her reaction when she found out that I had my bachelor's degree. I was 22 at the time, just graduated. And she was like, you got your bachelor's degree and you're here at this job and you're making all this money at 22? You're only 22? Oh my gosh, Angelica. And it just really, things got worse from there, and like the slick shit that she had to say. And she always emphasized when her peers had really positive things to say about me and how incredible and how smart I am, because, you know, I'm a thinker. I told y'all, visionary, right? I'm smart as fuck. And I didn't understand at the time why that might be so triggering for her at her big age. And now I understand it's because something that haters or weird bitches have is great vision. They do. They know how to spot talent like no other. They know power when they see it. and they try to siphon it and they try to push it down in order to make them feel better. But let's not talk about the negative piece. Let's talk about the positive piece of how great they are at spotting greatness, and what that person saw, what other previous people saw was greatness. And shout out to y'all for seeing the vision even before I could really fully see the vision for myself. You're special. And because of you, we got a podcast, girl. Like, what? Come on. We got a podcast and we got some other stuff, some other big things. So shout out to the haters. My most recent incident, I won't give as much detail about that one, but basically I was sharing, which no, I'm not sharing as much. Thought we were cool, whatever, shared. And I was basically met with, don't do it. Like this idea that I had that I was ready to carry out. Just straight up, oh, now's not a good time to do that. Don't do that. Excuse me? So, I had to go back to my friends that I've had for a little bit longer. Like I said, I haven't known too many people for too long, but the ones I've known for a bit longer that have no connection, I was like, am I tripping or what the fuck? So of course, after you get the validation from your other friends going, what the fuck, you gotta really sit there and you gotta really think about like, what is it? What happened? And upon some reflection, there were some clear red flags that I was not paying attention to. Now that I've had this time to think and ponder and grow myself, expand myself creatively and really radically step into self-belief, I'm like, if there's any crazy outward doubt around me, I gotta shut that shit down. I gotta shut it down. I gotta step away. And I didn't do that. I learned my lesson. I thought I learned my lesson the hard way, but really that was God's protection and I learned it the easy way. Yes, does it suck? Yes, is it disappointing that would happen? But as I continue to be my authentic self, as I continue to grow within who I am, as I continue to identify with the power that I have in that other people that are able to spot, I know that person is going to be one of many. There'll be even more. And as I get stronger, I'm sure even more of those people will appear. And I just need to be even more protective of my energy. That sense, if I spot it, shut it down immediately. Now I know, and I learned in a very low stakes situation. So I'm not mad at it. Within this time, I've learned it is really important, especially as someone who's developing a creative career, developing a platform, an entrepreneur, all the things, to align yourself with people who have a radical belief in their self and a radical belief in their vision. We talked about being a doer and execution in the last episode. All of that connects, like people who are actively doing and actively working in it. Those are the people that I need to align myself with. And it's okay. People are like unsatisfied with their work or they're like trying to work some things out. As creatives, we all go through ups and downs and that's okay. But somebody who's really in the mix, really doing their thing and loves the sense of support and collaboration from the people around them. Because I'm always supporting creatives in my community. Especially if you're a musician and you got a show or something, Angelica is in the crowd. Okay. That's what I do. I show up and I support the girls because I believe in me and I believe in you, bitch. You. And throughout this process, even though a good bit of it has left me by my lonesome, I'm trusting that the right people who will come around, who are meant for me, who are in alignment with me, will reciprocate my energy and will stay connected. The people who are meant for me will be the ones that truly stick along the way. And in terms of being a doer, it's a much shorter period of time. I've always been very authentic to myself, but like actively creating and taking it very seriously and what that means for me is new. So any relationships I build along the way are fresh. And while I want to just jump to the finish line of certain stuff, I do have to remind myself that this is very early on in what is going to be a process with the entire world around me. Relationships, creatively, financially, career-wise, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. And I have to continue to be intentional with every aspect of it. With that being said, after that moment I just brought up earlier, with someone kind of like letting their mask slip, within the theme of these past couple of weeks, I've come to learn the lesson that when you ask God for clarity, be prepared when that shit comes through clear. Be prepared when it comes through clear, because girl, sometimes even when it is real clear, I'm like, ooh, maybe I closed my eyes. Maybe I kind of liked it better when it was a little bit murky. Fuck. But no, I asked for clarity and things started to eliminate. People other situations, opportunities that I thought would be better aligned for me, just shoop, 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 everything gone. Allowed for space for the correct things to come in. Do I always like the path to the destination? No. But, me and the spirit, we agree on the destination. It's just the how. And I'm coming to the point where it's like, we don't need to agree, I guess. I'm just gonna take a deep breath, lock in, and allow myself to feel disappointment sometimes. It's okay to feel disappointed, and it's okay to regroup, reform my perception of the situation in order to move forward. I don't have to have this perfect idea or perception of the situation or way to go about it immediately. That's completely against human nature, and I'm human. I'm allowed to really go through the process of grieving what I thought was going to be into what is, or the way or the how I get there. And I'm gonna let myself, fill it up, girl. Fill it up. I didn't originally have this in the show notes for today, but I'm going to throw it on there. I mentioned it earlier. I think we're going to go with it. And that is the depth of human complexity. So kind of like I talked about my emotional response to asking for clarity and being a little like, I don't know. And the point I brought up about quote unquote weird bitches. Okay. And them being able to spot great talent and great power. Response to it maybe not be the healthiest, but they know it when they see it. Okay. I think that we talk a lot about what we should be doing, the healthy things, protecting our peace, and, don't be toxic, don't be narcissistic, and make sure you're always as perfect being all the time. But the truth is, human nature is beautiful, and it is passionate, and it's progressive, and it is ugly, and it is regressive, and it is toxic, and it's rough. It's rough. Humans are all of the light and all of the dark. And I think we spend a lot of time trying to perceive ourselves in the best light, perceive other people in the best light. And as somebody who's working to do better with my previous way of idealism when it comes to people, I'm understanding that people can be all things, and that when I come across somebody who may be a quote unquote weird bitch or a hater, it is someone that is going through a personal experience that has nothing to do with me. Maybe they projected their negativity onto me, but that's just them being a human being, and I can continue to engage or not engage, and that's okay. I'm going to continue to come across more people like that. There may be situations where I'm not my best self, where I think I'm all cool and I say some crazy shit. Now, I don't think I'll be saying crazy shit, at least not on purpose. I am known to be very blunt, but my intention is always pure. I'm not trying to come through or stop anybody from going where they're supposed to go or being who they're meant to be or nothing like that. Never. I never do that. But I can't act surprised anymore if there are people who are experiencing those types of things, because I've been in a dark place before. Typically with me being in a dark place, I'm usually retracting into myself. Maybe I do start to catch an attitude or say crazy shit with the people around me. Maybe I'm guilty of that, during a dark time, right? I'm human, and that's okay. And I'm not above anybody else who really, really goes through it in a way that is perceived poorly. We cannot always regulate our sadness or put a pretty bow on how we do our sadness or put a pretty bow on how we deal with conflict all the time. Sometimes we just be feeling, and things don't always work in this perfect way sometimes. So yes, humans are complex, humans are light, humans are dark. We're all the things. Anywho, let's get into our word, finding peace. I find that when we discuss what it means to find peace, it has nothing to do with conflict or just conflict avoidant. Everything is real kumbaya and peaceful, but that isn't necessarily the case when it comes to peace in life. There's no way to avoid conflict. There's no way to avoid bad things, but how we perceive the situation and how we lead ourselves mentally, emotionally, and spiritually out of it each time, our resilience as people, our perseverance through these situations is what is in alignment with our peace. Protecting your peace doesn't mean not showing up. Protecting your peace doesn't mean being avoidant. Protecting your peace doesn't mean that you're doing capitalist self-care Protecting your peace means that you're pouring into yourself, you're taking care of yourself, your home, your environment, and you're doing the best you can. And sometimes, even when you do the best you can, shit still happens. And being able to say, hey, it's fucked up right now, but even though I'm uncomfortable and even though I'm upset, I know some way, somehow, even when I calm down or not, I see a way through this. And that kind of attitude is what peace really looks like, rather than the version of peace and perfect relationships that we're fed. And that's it. It was a little bit of a short episode today, but I hope you guys enjoyed our second video episode. Okay, that's exciting. And we're getting on a bi-weekly schedule. We're getting close. I promise, we're getting close. Okay. And until next time, ride out with the music. Bye.